Morning. Sorry, I had a technical difficulty and I don't know what was going on, but things went a little crazy, which seems to be normal whenever I do these live Sunday videos. Okay, first, let's get the Tim Hortons commercial out of the way. Here we got some delicious Tim Hortons delicious Tim Hortons coffee to get the noggin jogging. Oh yeah, I got up at 8 this morning, picked a comic, and then proceeded to drink an entire pot of coffee. So I'm ready to go. All right. So let's just see. It's 10:12 for those of you who are watching this live, which is nobody right now. So I will filibuster for a couple of minutes until I get some sort of confirmation that we're actually broadcasting. So, what am I doing today? As normal, as I always say, the hardest part of my channel is selecting comics. Um, there's a term for that when you're given a variety of choices and you stagger and you can't pick something. I forget what it was. Whereas people who have less choices end up just picking something quicker. I the only way I could explain that or relate to that in ordinary parlance is I find that it's easier to like do an essay when you were in school and your teacher said, okay, I want you to write about what you did this weekend. You're like, okay. And you have a topic, you give it an assignment, and you do it. But if the teacher says, "Oh, you just give me 3 pages of anything you want," you spend so much time discussing in your brain and talking to your friends. What am I going to write about? What am I going to write about? That you become paralyzed with infinite choices. So, but there's a specific psychological term for that. So I get that whenever I have to pick comics. So I really do like it when people recommend comics for me, when people suggest video ideas and things. So it helps me out. So I actively encourage people to uh, request videos. I couldn't think of the word again because I'm out of my mind. All right, like I said, stolen. All right, so let's let's look at this. So this is Fantastic Four Annual #2. Where did I get this? I don't remember where I got this, but I think I got this in a collection with when I bought a collection off of somebody, because I wasn't born yet when it came out. I may be old, but I ain't that old, and I don't think I would have bought this because it has tape on it that I just can't remove. So I definitely wouldn't have bought this particular copy. So I'm pretty sure that this came in a collection of comics, which means I probably got it for a steal. But other than this tape, it's in pretty good condition, considering this comic book is 60 years old. I mean, the cover's still white and everything. There's no water damage. To me, that's the worst. If a comic book has water damage, I won't buy it. I don't care what price. Uh, I have a copy of Fantastic Four #1 that's kind of beat up, but I don't know if it was water damaged, but it was the only Fantastic Four #1 that I could even remotely afford. So that one I picked up, but I will not buy any comic that it looks to be like it has water damage. I don't know, but this doesn't have water damage. It just has a little wear and tear, but it just has this tape. So and this is just old school tape that just like leaks and turns yellow. But anyway, let's get on with the comics. I still got no live viewers. What a shame. All right. All right, so we'll start now. 72-page annual. For those of you who do not know, I always like to like give a little bit of background information, treating each video as if it was your first time. So an annual came out annually, meaning once a year. So I don't know who came up with the big idea, but it was an exciting thing back in for most of my comic book collecting experiences. Annuals came out once a year, so you had 12 issues of, say, the Fantastic Four, and then an annual. So you had 13 issues, but annuals were big, were twice as big, sometimes 3 times as big as regular comics, and because of that, they had a higher price, so 25 cents as opposed to 12 cents as the comics were at this time. And you'll really look forward to. And for most of my collecting experience, annuals were a big deal. You looked forward to them. It wasn't until like I can say late 80s, early 90s when comics just became like, I don't know, like try out books for other people, or like inventory issues just collected together. But for a long time, an annual was something special, like the culmination to a gigantic story, or just a big deal that that they wanted to tell all in one shot. So there you go. This and to me this was an important big deal. This was the origin of Doctor Doom. Now Doctor Doom was a breakout character. He debuted, and I think it was Fantastic Four #5, and it's reprinted in this. The first Doctor Doom story. The first Doctor Doom story is my least favorite Doctor Doom story. I've always hated that particular story, and I will go on record as saying that the first 10 issues of the Fantastic Four, I don't think Stan and Jack got their wherewithal yet. They came up with the characters, and they were still treating them as like generic science fiction heroes, like on par with like the challenges of the unknown over at DC. It wasn't until like, I don't know, maybe a year into the Fantastic Four before I think that their personalities started to solidify, and they realized what a special creation they created. You know, I'm done with my coffee, so now I'm gonna have some Diet Coke. Got to keep the caffeine going. So, uh, what was I gonna say? I got distracted by my own soda. All right, so enough stalling. Nobody's here. I guess I'll just continue. So the first annual was Namor. The second annual is Doctor Doom. Look at this cover. This is Jack Kirby and Schick Stone. Schick Stone is not my favorite. Inker for Jack Kirby, but I don't know. This is good. I like this giant menacing Doctor Doom figure. We got the Invisible Woman over here, as she was known back then, the Invisible Girl. We got Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, the Thing over there, and then Victor Von Doom. All right, we got the world's greatest annual. Being ginger with this, as you can see, wrist radio, and we've probably all have seen this before. This is going to be tough to do because this binding is still really good. Look at the damage the tape did. I just hate that. I'd rather there be a tear than tape. So this is the splash page. There's Doctor Doom sitting on his throne, and this is Boris, his attendant. This is the first appearance of Boris. So let's look at the credits. Earth-shattering script by Stan Lee, breathtaking illustration by Jack Kirby, epoch-making delineation by Schick Stone, no faking lettering, that's weird, by Sal Rosen. So we got Doctor Doom over here. And what's he doing? He's being led out by his servant Boris. This is Boris's first appearance. And this is just a gothic horror, you know. This is set in like Hollywood era Eastern Europe, you know what I mean? Like this timeless period that kind of like, if you read Brian Bowles' Wolf and Batsy, it's like the same location, you know, just gothic location, you know. It's windswept, vaguely ethnic, vaguely Eastern European, you know, era, but it's Latvia, a real sounding but non-existent country. You know, it's a place that can only exist in comic books. It's a technological marvel, but yet people still travel like it's the 18th or 1900s. You know, with the horse-drawn wagons and everything. It's like a quaint place. So what do we get here? This is Werner Von Doom. This is Doctor Doom's father, and Werner Von Doom is a healer, man of science. And he's being taken it by one of the Baron's men. The Baron is just like, you got to come in. The Baron is sick, or the Baron's child is sick rather, and you got to come and save him. You know, all the court doctors and everything is not helping. So there's little Victor. Oh, isn't he cute, little Victor Von Doom? He's like, stay here. That's young Boris. Stay here. Your father's gonna go treat the Baron's kid. So there's the Baron in the Baron's dying wife. It's hopeless. It's beyond my power to save her. You lie, gypsy. Use your magic potion. Save her, or you will, or you'll pay with your own worthless life. So he's just like, there's nothing more I could do, Your Excellency. Then go back to your camp and pray for your sake that you've been successful. So we already know that he's like, I gotta get out of here. It dumped my first dream, so this is gonna get frustrating. So she dies. That gypsy failed. He will pay with life. He's not a good guy. So these vaguely Prussian-looking soldiers are looking for Werner von Doom, to make him pay. And why didn't he find him? Because Werner fled in the night. So Werner and Victor fled. The the, the horse took off. It's like, what are we gonna do? I always remember this picture. He's just hiding in the rain. And, this picture to me is I don't know, these two illustrations. I don't know, they had a lot of emotion to me. Werner von Doom took off his own jacket and shirt, and he's wrapping his son through the snow as they're passing over the mountains, and there he is. Boris finds the father's dead, but the son is barely alive. So Boris takes young Victor back, and he's nursing him back into health. Of course, the father is not going to make it. You know, but I love that the father sacrificed to save his son. It's you know Werner's not a bad guy. You know, it's excuse me. I think Jack and Stan did a I said before that Spider-Man's origin is as like close to literature as you're gonna get. I find Doctor Doom to be like one of the breakout characters of all of Marvel, and I think Jack and Stan felt the same way because look at this. This is the Fantastic Four annual, and the Fantastic Four aren't even in it yet. This is all Doctor Doom. This is Doctor Doom's origin. Uh, well, it's no secret I absolutely love this comic. I wouldn't be showcasing this if I didn't absolutely love it. But here we have Werner is dying. He should have froze to death that night, but that's not dramatic. This is cinematic storytelling. This is literature. This is comic books. So of course he's still alive to give last words to his son. And I love this. He goes, "What's he say? Father, you have to protect me. I shall become strong, powerful. I shall avenge your death." You know. Oh, heed my words. You must protect. Oh, and Victor's like, "You don't need to protect me." He goes, "You must. I shall become powerful, strong. I shall avenge your death." And Boris is over here. I like what Boris says. "I never told him his mother was a sorceress, and her blood flows in his veins. I pray he never learns of her dark heritage." So he goes, "They murdered my mother when I was but an infant, and now they have slain my father. They shall pay for it. All of mankind shall pay." Look at young Doom. And Boris is like, and nameless gypsies in the background. So what does Boris say? He goes, he didn't mean protect his son. He meant protect the world from the vengeance of his son. So at this point, I should talk about Dr. Doom's mother. Dr. Doom's mother was Cynthia Von Doom. And here he is. He finds her chest. Cynthia Von Doom was a sorceress. And she was burnt to death as a witch, when, like I said, when he was an infant. So Victor didn't know that until this particular moment. So I love that. His father was a scientist, a healer. His mother was a sorcerer. So there you go. They got the two I don't know, the two arts, what do you want to call it, working together to in his blood, if you believe in that kind of stuff. So now he's finding out the dark heritage of his mother. So what does he do? He uses both. I used to say that like science is science, magic is magic, and alchemy was the blend of both of them. So like, in my writings and musings and my role playing games, alchemy was some sort of mix between magic and science. It's magic. It's magic using scientific method, and it's scientific method using magic. So it's a marriage of them both. And that's what he's doing. So he's going around making these like magical scientific, so I'm just gonna say alchemical creations, and he makes it a fiddle that could play by itself. So this guy's like, I've always wanted to play, and he sells it, and then he's turning it off when he gets far away, which is kind of cruel. He could have just left it on, and now it's after he got his money, he smashes it. He realizes he's being tricked. This guy, he got a hair potion, hair tonic to make his hair better. Oh, geez, this comic really wants to close. And then after Victor leaves, his hair falls out. So he's just being a jerk. He could make these things last forever. He's that brilliant. He's just being a jerk. So this solid gold statue transforms into clay. And what do? The people had enough of his shenanigans. Now, let me just point out, He has the brilliance to make these things. He has the brilliance to just be rich and live, but he is bitter. He's angry. His mother was burnt as a witch. His father was killed for not being able to cure cancer or whatever through no fault of his own. So he just wants everybody to suffer. The only person he's nice to, even as a child, was Boris, the person who raised him. And even Boris, he wasn't too nice to later on because Dr. Doom is just rotten to the core. So they're going to execute him, and it's a robot. You know, it's a robot. I'm here catching up. Glad to going to a small con in Charlotte to hang out with Andy Smith and Bud Root. Oh, cool. Cool, Marcus. Cool. Say hello to Andy Smith. Ask him if he wants to come on my channel. I messaged him a few times, but most people don't know who I am. I'd love to have Andy Smith. Say hello to Bud Root. Yeah, if Bud Root wants to come too, that would be awesome. Yeah, thank you, Marcus. I assume everything's looking good, man. I had a bear of a time getting live today. I don't know what's going on. So now the Latvian government is sending tanks after him. That's how bad of a menace that Victor is, that they're actually sending tanks after him. So what does he do? From his little frost. Look at that. It just looks cold, doesn't it? It just looks cold. So, this is a code comic. We can't really have him, killing. So like he freezes up the tank and everybody escapes. And here we have Dr. Doom is working in a lab. He's following OSHA regulations with gloves and a mask. And Boris is like, here, look. And what do we have here? We have a scout from America to give him a scholarship. They want him to formally go to college. They'll give him a scholarship. And Boris is like, be careful. He's like, I'll be safer in America than I am here. And nobody's chasing me around. I'll be in college. And Boris is like, yes, master, nothing shall change until you come back to us. So, there you go. Flying to the big city. Here he is. And what happens next? He's the first student to speak with him at State University was a tall, smiling youth with an easygoing manner. Well, it looks like someone else is anxious to see the science lab as I am. My name's Richards, fella. Reed Richards. That is no concern of mine. So here he is. He meets Reed Richards. And Reed Richards is a young, scrappy guy, eager to meet the guy who got the scholarship. I assume Reed got a scholarship too. Hey, let's be roommates. Let's hang out. He's like, I don't want. I prefer my own quarters. I'm glad he didn't accept my offer. There's something ominous about him. I can sense it. Just imagine how different the world would have been. Oh, did they ever do that? What if Dr. Doom accepted Reed's offer? They became roommates, and then Ben, and then Reed never met Ben Grimm. Wow, because here he goes, Ben Grimm's like, and this is something that people kind of forget. Ben sought out Reed to be his roommate. Why? Because he figured he could get like Reed to do his homework, total nerd stuff. So here's the jock, keep in mind, Ben was brilliant too, but in a different way. Ben's a physics. I wonder how Happy Boy is making out. Hello, anybody home? And what's he doing? He's looking at his so Reed Richards. This is Reed Richards. It's hard to tell sometimes because he doesn't have the white in his hair. Wow, he's been experimenting with matter transmutation and dimension warps. This is pretty far out stuff. And he's like, get out of here. Don't look at this. Is private. Now, why is this private and why is this a secret? Because he went into his own, Dr. Doom's own room. This is private research that Victor has been doing. He's keeping it a secret. Why? Because he's, Doom is pure ego. More than any other villain is pure ego. And I said this before. If you play Dr. Doom in a movie, apparently there's a Fantastic Four movie coming out. And if you do not overact, you are not doing Dr. Doom right. Dr. Doom is the ultimate drama queen. He's just pure ego. So he's hiding because he doesn't want anybody to know that his mother was burnt to death as a witch. And he's trying to contact his witch because he found out that his mother was she's in hell. She's, the devil has captured her soul for practicing evil sorcery. Now, they didn't say it in this particular comic, but later on, I think there was the Book of Doom. It was a 6-issue miniseries that expanded upon Dr. Doom's origin. And what they said was the evil king. So Baron, I forget the Baron's name. But the Baron was bad, and then when at this point right now, while Dr. Doom is in America going to college, the Baron becomes the next king. There's like some sort of like overthrow, and he becomes King Vladimir or something like that. So when Doom comes back, he overthrows King Vladimir, who was the Baron who killed his father, And I think that the previous king had Cynthia Von Doom executed and burnt at the stake for being a witch, because he was a piece of junk too. And what did she cast a spell that to wipe out his soldiers, but the spell went awry and it also took out a bunch of villagers, including children and stuff. So what she, if you ask me, she committed war crimes, so she's not totally innocent. So he's making this machine to breach the barrier to contact his dead mother, who's imprisoned. And it was the devil, it was Satan, and that finally, I think in a stroke of brilliance, they said it was Dormammu. Tied together everything in a neat package. I love when comic books do that. So Dormammu, not Dormammu, Mephisto rather. Mephisto has this. So his intern is flipping the switch and it blows up. Now his face is hideously scarred. The dean is just like, what do you do with these experiments in your dorm room? Well, we can't supervise, we can't do monitor, we can't have safety protocols. You are reckless. You're expelled. And he's just like, he does. His face is hideously scarred, and that became like a thing even as a kid. Like, what does Doctor Doom look like? What does Doctor Doom look like? To the point where he took off his mask in issue 200 of the Fantastic Four, and you could kind of see his face. And me and my friends were like, "Oh my God, you could see Doctor Doom's face." So that became like one of those things. Like, you never see Norm's wife in Cheers. You didn't see the face of the guy in Home Improvement. It's like one of those things. You never see Doom's face. And I think it was issue 247 of the Fantastic Four by John Byrne, where they finally showed the face. He just had a line. He had a scar. But Doctor Doom is vain. He was handsome. And so this scar destroyed his perfect beauty. So right now he's not that bad. And to tell you the truth, chicks would probably dig this exotic, brilliant, physically powerful, cool, swaggered foreign guy with this cool scar down his face. He missed out. So what does he do? He goes off to Tibet because he can't fit in with people, because he's a drama queen. They also retcon this later on, that he was purposely looking for this monastery, and that makes a little bit more sense. And these monks take him in, and the monks, they whatever, they heal him up, and they forge him this armor. And look at this. They obey his commands, forge this mask. Now they take this mask out of this urn, and you can see it's still hot. Now that's what John Byrne did. He said this is the moment Doctor Doom's face gets hideously scarred beyond recognition. Because at this point, you're in for a penny, in for a pound. Your face is already wrecked by a scar. Go for broke. Who cares? When he puts the mask on, and then they didn't show it here, but later on they show that the mask his face, and he actually runs out into the snow and buries his face in the snow. So the origins always get expanded upon. So now he's Doctor Doom. And he can't take off the mask unless this hidden concealed ring, the button is pressed, which unlatches the face. So the face mask is he's basically welded into his armor. So now he's talking to the monks as he builds stuff. And he is now Doctor Doom, going off into the world to menace the world. Woe to the world now that Doctor Doom is born. So I'll finish up this before I continue. So now we have all Doctor Doom's adventures. He goes back to, this is the present time. So this is like a ritual that he has. Once a year, he goes to the grave of his father and mother and recollects the story of Doctor Doom, because everything is about Doctor Doom. If you're playing Doctor Doom and you are not an egomaniac, overacting freak, again, you're not doing Doctor Doom the correct way. Everything is about him. He is, again, ego personified. So now he's now the dictator of Latvia, which I always considered like it's like like North Korea. It's this isolationist small country. Except the difference between let me take a sip. Instead of having like a party that runs everything, I mean, it's really Kim Il Jong, but I think there's systems that even he can't override. He's an absolute divine right monarch, but he does provide. Now, it's the perfect example of like of like collectivism over here. Everybody's taken care of. Their basic needs are met. Nobody starves in Latvia. There's no crime in Latvia. Everybody has what they need, but they don't get to choose. They have no control over their lives. You are this. You are the farmer. You are the this. That would be kind of brilliant to explore the average life of a citizen in Latvia, and he doesn't allow the architecture and fashions to influence. It looks like when he was growing up. How like when I don't know about you guys, but I'm in my 50s, and you kind of I get nostalgic for things in the 80s, and of course I'm talking about comic books from the 80s. That's the way comic books ought to be. I recognize I'm an old grouchy guy, but Doctor Doom has the will to keep his landscape, keep his in his childhood. So everything is frozen in his childhood. You know what I mean? He has the ability to enforce his nostalgia. How's that? For you know what I mean? Is that a nightmare? Is that a nightmare scenario? Would you want the ability to keep everything in the 80s? In my case, I assume you guys are younger. In like 2005, the world is frozen in time. So, I just why did they take in Doctor? And like over here, now the world will rule Doctor Doom. We have this like stereotypical, oh, the Himalayan monks, they're good guys. Well, Mark Waid, of all people, when he did a series based on the origin of Doctor Doom called Unthinkable in Fantastic Four, it's actually brilliant. It's really good. These were evil monks, he says. This was always like the thing that didn't make any sense. Well, why did these monks do all this? So it turns out that these monks are like demon worshippers or cultists, and they saw that Doom was coming, and they aided him in their dark master. I thought that was brilliant. It's cool. I would think that Latvia is about as big as Luxembourg. Yeah, it's one of those tiny little city states, but it's not really just a city state because it's got farm, But I agree with you. It's got to be one of those fly speck like Andorra, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, kind of countries in Europe. Because even though this is fantastic Marvel Earth, there still has to be like some sort of believability. Like for DC, where is Metropolis? Where is Gotham City? Where is Central City? Where is Opal City? I kind of like that they use real cities, but I also kind of like the idea of Metropolis too. So you could change the landmarks and things could be different. But whatever. I don't know. Latvia, it doesn't exist, but it does exist. The only way to make it make sense is it has to be one of those fly speck little countries. So there you go. The monks were evil. Evil cultists living in the mountains to do unspeakable rites. I just find that to be fascinating. And of course, me being who I am, I have to tie everything to like Lovecraftian, like cultists worshiping dark forces and things, and waiting to create Doctor Doom as one of their agents of chaos or madness or whatever. I don't know. I find that to be so cool. In my head canon, that's what it is. And I think Mark Waid kind of leaned a little bit towards that way. So now we have like before the Marvel universe. For your information, I could not join when you started. Yeah, something happened, Pete. I don't know what happened. I did my due diligence. I woke up at 8 o'clock and I posted an announcement. I didn't realize I could do that stuff. I'm trying to get better at YouTube. Live and learn. So I learned that you could schedule things for later, and then when I hit live, went live for a couple of seconds, but it was sending out invitations to people. So I must have hit a button, and I canceled it because I didn't, what people on Twitter or people on YouTube could just accept these invitations. I didn't know who was going to show up. Somebody naked, or you know what I mean. Somebody start cursing, and then I get a strike, and my channel gets taken down. So I couldn't take that risk, so I had to turn it off because I hit some sort of wrong button. Maybe I didn't hit a wrong button, but my screen was cut in half, and it said sending out invitations. I don't know who I sent the invitations out. I don't know what happened. So I panicked a little bit. I turned it off, and I reset everything. So there you go, Pete. That's an explanation. So no problem. Just thought you should know. Yeah. Like I said, discretion is the better part of valor. Or whatever. if I sent out invitations, did it go to the last people I talked to? It said it was privated. Yeah, I closed it down right away because, again, I didn't know who I sent invitations to. Odds are it's probably like you guys. You know what I mean? So is my spleen okay? Yeah, my spleen. I have a split spleen, but I don't know who I sent invitations to or anybody if that was just a standard response. So I got nervous and I didn't know, like, all of a sudden camera turns on, it's nudity or somebody cursing or saying something that would get me shut down. So I couldn't take the risk. So I had to start over again. I don't know. I'll check. I'll probably, so be warned. Sometime during this week, I'm probably going to do a test run. You're going to get a notification, but there's going to be no video because I want to play with these settings. YouTube did an update, and you know, I I'm not 18 years old who's cool with computers. I'm an old man. So here we got this. This is, I always liked when they did this. This is, this was the Marvel Universe before the Marvel Universe was created. That I did that. If you look at my back catalog, you can see I did the I'm currently doing the DC Who's Who. I'm finishing that up. But before that, I did the Marvel Universe, which was like an encyclopedia of comics. And they would have a character and a write-up. And this is the way I like it. They don't need to go into scientific explanations of how their powers work. Oh, we generate neutrons that create this, blah, blah. No, Superman flies, Reed Richards stretches, the Thing has strength. Maybe it would be cool to get like a tonnage of how much the Thing could bench press. That's kind of cool. Couple of examples of how tough his skin is, but I don't need to know the chemical makeup of Reed Richards' skin that allows him to stretch and blah 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 blah. That gets a little too far. So this is the Super Skrull. First appeared in Fantastic Four number 18. He was the most powerful, the most dangerous, the most evil of all his race. He came to Earth to defeat his fellow Skrulls at the hands of the FF. So the Skrulls have been there since the beginning. They showed up in Fantastic Four number 2. I'm missing Fantastic Four number 2. I have Fantastic Four number 1, 7, 8, and from 10 up I have. So I'm missing a couple of those early ones that right now they kind of priced out of my rate. I'm kind of hoping now that the Marvel Universe is kind of the movies that they're running the course that people like me could maybe get some affordable comic books again. So the Super Skrull was created. He has the powers of all of the Fantastic Four, plus all Skrulls could shape change. So he's pretty tough. He's in that Secret Invasion. He's played by Khaleesi, whatever her name is, Amelia Clark. So this is Rama Tut. First appeared in Fantastic Four number 19. Rama Tut is a man from the future. I forget exactly. Does it say where he came from? He came from the future. He got bored in his peaceful time. He's the perfect example of like of hard times create good men, and then or hard men, and then hard times create good men who create easy times that create bad men. So he lived in an easy time machine, and he went back in time and he became a supervillain. Now, it's been retconned so many times I don't know what to believe anymore, but they speculated that he may be Doctor Doom in the future, and then that got retconned to the point where he might be Doctor Doom's descendant. He might be Reed Richards' descendant. Who knows? It's one of those paradox things. But he may or may not be Kang. He may or may not be Doctor Doom. He definitely is the Scarlet Centurion because they show him turning into the Scarlet Centurion. And I think they show the Scarlet Centurion becoming Kang. So maybe he definitely is Kang before he was Kang. I don't know. This is the kind of time travel stuff that Rabbit Tut is Kang, says Marcus. I'll take your word on it. That's what I always thought. But in the last 10 years or so, things got a little bit crazy. So I don't know. But as far as I know, at this point, when I was collecting, say it's 1984, when I was full on categorizing and cataloging all this stuff, he was Kang, but he wasn't Doctor Doom. He was Doctor Doom's descendant. Geez, my mouth does not work. Molecule Man. Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, first appeared in Fantastic Four number 20. What a great character. I've always loved the Molecule Man. Look at the scars on his face. So he could transform molecules. So he is like one of the most powerful beings in Marvel creation. He is awesome. The last 10 years don't count. Marcus, I'm on your team. The last 10 years don't count. Marcus, remind me if you're still around towards the end of this video to explain how I could fix the Marvel Universe. I did a video on how to fix the Marvel Universe. Uh, I'll retell that story if you guys are interested and if you remind me, because I don't know. I sometimes I feel like I repeat myself, but yes, he's one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe. And if I remember correctly, they kind of he controlled molecules, so he could just wave his magic wand around and basically do whatever he wants. But the problem is he's like psychologically weak, if that makes sense. Like, he just doesn't have the will. Like, it later on, he gets a girlfriend and she like dominates him. His partners always seem to dominate him. So that's like his own weakness. He's ultimately powerful over matter and everything, but it's like mind over matter. Well, his mind isn't that powerful. It's kind of brilliant. The Hate Monger. Now look at all of these great villains that just showed up. The first appearance in Fantastic Four 21, the Hate Monger. So he's just like a rabble rouser, a troublemaker. He causes problems. Look at that great costume. So it's no joke that he was inspired by the KKK kind of thing with that hood and everything. And then they took off his mask at the end. So he's giving speeches and rallying people and causing riots and, hate speech. He's like the living embodiment of hate speech. And at this point, like, there was civil unrest and everything. So this was like a pretty topical. Comic books were always political. This is like a perfect example of that. And then he took off his mask, and it was a clone of Adolf Hitler. And then, like I said, John Byrne is brilliant. He always puts like good twists on villain. He brought back the Hate Monger during his run, and when they took off his mask, he was a black guy. Oh my God! So he was causing like anti-white hatred. So hate knows no boundaries. And that was controversial at the time, and that's one of the reasons why I love John Byrne. It was John Byrne was always, if this was the current view, John Byrne was always coming and looking at things this way. Just brilliant. The Infant Terrible. This first appearance 24. This was, I don't know what it was, but I've always had a nostalgic fondness for this particular comic. So what was the name? The Elan, I think they named this race. And it was the space alien that came on the planet, and it had these antennas. Like, he crashed on and he was he was like an infant, and he had ultimate power. So his race basically has the power cosmic. What is the power cosmic? Well, the power cosmic is whatever it is, whatever you need. Silver Surfer's power, plot power, Galactus's power. So the power cosmic is plot power, and this race is ultimate power. And then, if you ask me, it was kind of inspired by maybe it was before the Fantastic Four with the Squire of Gothos. So his parents came and took him away and saved the day. He pretty much had the Fantastic Four on the rope. And they didn't want to beat the crap out of him because they realized he was just a child. Diablo, first appearance, Fantastic. A Spaniard who's he was looking for the city of gold. He explored the Aztec worlds and everything, looking for the fountain of youth. And he found all these alchemical formulas. So I just love that. He's half magic, half science that fights the Fantastic Four through use of potions, and I just find him to be a great villain. And here is the first. This is a reprint of the first appearance of Doctor Doom in the Fantastic Four. I've always hated this particular comic. So this is a reprint of Fantastic Four #5, the first appearance of Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom. He's playing chess with the Fantastic Four. This classic. Johnny Storm is busted on Ben. He's like, look at this. I'm reading about the Hulk. So at this point, this is how like Marvel snuck in some product placement and some advertisements for their own comics. I look at that. So he's reading the Hulk. He's like, hey, this guy's stronger than you. And he's like, give me that. He burns the comic. Can you believe that? He burnt a copy of the Hulk #1. Oh, my God. And they're fighting. That's classic Doctor Doom. I mean, classic Fantastic Four interplay. And that's what made them different than the Justice League and all the other comics. Is the infighting and the dysfunctional family, and Doctor Doom puts a net over the entire Baxter building. He traps the ball with, what does he say here? It's with asbestos. So Doctor Doom is playing the long game. He's going to defeat the Fantastic Four with mesothelioma in their 60s. And So he's in the helicopter. He's like, "Who is this guy? Who is this guy?" And he's now an abridged version of his origin. The rope is electrified. What are they going to do? They send out Sue Storm to sue for inked by Joe Sinnott. Yes, Joe Sinnott's my favorite. Joe Sinnott and Vince Coletta are my two favorite inkers for Jack Kirby. So Sue goes out and pleads for mercy with the Fantastic Four. They bargain with them. We're not going to fight you. We will. I think at this point it's more logical to assume, reading between the lines, that the Fantastic Four could have fought. They could have done, but they were more interested in all right, you're not really doing anything dangerous. You threw a net around the Fantastic Four. You're obviously doing this for attention. Reed kind of recognizes the voice as Victor Von Doom. So Reed knows the story of Victor Von Doom, that he was a guy who, last he saw, he was expelled. So Reed, my headcanon is, and I'm sure they say this because I think I read this someplace, that Reed is more concerned and a little bit of compassionate towards, he knows that this is a damaged individual from his past. So they could come out swinging, they could come out fighting, but he's more like, okay, let's go see what's going on. And even Ben knows Victor from college. So now they're before him, and he's bragging. He's like, "Yeah, last you saw me, yeah, and he's always been a little embarrassed and needs to show up Reed Richards, because Reed looked at his paperwork and saw the mathematical. How's that? That's kind of interesting. Mathematical problems in his equations that caused the explosion. Like at a glance, he's like, he will never. He's embarrassed. He's pure ego. He needs to show up Reed Richards. That he won't just kill Reed Richards. He needs to show Reed Richards needs to die knowing that Victor is a better scientist, that he's smarter, because that's the way he is. So he's going to send them back in time. This is just so stupid. I always hated this. To get Blackbeard's treasure. Why? Because it's cool. Because of the plot. Why Blackbeard's treasure? Did they explain that there was a device that he needed? Now I'm going to add in my fluff and say because Victor is also a magician, it's he's considered the second best sorcerer on Earth next to Doctor Strange. He's the second best scientist next to Reed Richards. So I'm adding that he needs one of these things for some magical ritual. That's the only way that it makes sense. Look at this wonderful pinups. I couldn't think of the word. I just love that. And now, what are they doing? They're dressing up the Thing because he can't just go walking around. So you put a beard and an eye patch on him. That'll trick you. Nobody's going to realize that he's a horrible monster, right? So now, it's just so bad. So they get in Shanghai. They going into the pub. Now Sue's not with them because Sue's being held hostage. They drink and they get drugged. And now they're shanghaied aboard a pirate ship. So what do they do? So, of course, the Thing is like, he ain't taking any of that. He fights with anybody. What are they going to do? They're going to defeat him. He melts everything. So they take over the pirate ship, and he becomes Blackbeard. So I wonder if this is something that Marvel will talk about. Like, in the Marvel universe, is it known that Ben Grimm is Blackbeard? Like, whenever they talk about the historical Blackbeard the pirate, are they talking about Ben Grimm? Was there another guy who becomes black, or did this override black? Time travel drives me nuts. To me, if allow me to be geeky for a second, if I ever do become a comic book writer, I want to do a story explaining time travel. There's one timeline, and if you go back in time, you create a loop, but you don't create a second timeline. What happened, and you cannot change the past. If you try to successfully change the past, that loop breaks off, becomes a bubble, which is a paradox, and the timeline continues. So for everybody outside of your paradox, you just left the timeline at the point you went back in time. So basically, it looks like you disintegrated or died. You know what I mean? So the timeline is preserved, and you are outside of the timeline, trapped in some repeating Groundhog Day thing that may or may not pop and disintegrate and kill everybody. So there you go. There's my geeky way of explaining time travel. Time travel is extremely delicate, extremely tricky, And I hope to write a comic book story using my time travel character that I will not mention for safety, you know, so nobody steals my ideas. Hey, Phantasmagorical. Hey, good to see you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up. Phantasmagorical came over to my channel when I talked to Justin Belmont live. She's real helpful. Thank you. I'm trying to see. Oh, there you go. There you go. You're a moderator now. See how easy it is? Thank you for explaining all that stuff for me. So she's going to be the moderator. So if she could add links or whatever, it's a work in progress. Focus. Okay, so this silly comic, it's just Stan Lee and Jack Kirby saw a pirate movie and they thought it would be cool to have the Fantastic Four go on a pirate adventure. This, as much as I love Stan, as much as I love Jack, they're human. We disagree sometimes. We're adults. We still get along. I still love them. This is one of the stories that I don't like. So now they're going on pirate adventure stories. Now I love pirate adventure stories. You want to hear something crazy? You want to hear how crazy I am? I don't like Johnny Depp. I don't like the actor. I got nothing personal against him. I just, you know, I think he's been phoning it in for years. Having said that, I love the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I love pirates. So there you go. So I had a dream that I was at a backyard barbecue, and next thing you know, I'm talking to Johnny Depp. For whatever reason, he's there, and I'm like just talking to him. And me being me, a jerk that I am, we end up talking about his movies, and I tell him how I don't like his movies. And he's like, even the Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm like, no, I love the Pirates of the Caribbean, and I love Ed Wood, and you were good in Gilbert Grape. But other than that, I don't think you're a good actor. And he started laughing at me. And we shook hands, and in my crazy imagination, we became friends because, he realized I wasn't sucking up to him. Focus has nothing to do with this. So I just wanted to say that I love pirates. I love pirate stories. El Cazador by Chuck Dixon over CrossGen Comics. It's a flat out pirate comic. I love it. I have a pirate theme in my role playing games. Every once in a while, we'll sell the Caribbean. I love pirates. So I should like this comic. It just makes no sense in the context of the Marvel. Oh no, Johnny! I even love Edward Scissorhands. Oh no, you love Johnny Depp. I even have an Edward Scissorhands. Yeah. Oh, you know what? You're gonna laugh at me, fan. I've never seen Edward Scissorhands. I at the risk of alienating my new moderate, I don't particularly like Tim Burton movies. I love his animations. I love The Nightmare Before Christmas. You know, I really do. I think his animation movies are great. I love the movie Ed Wood, but I hated the first Batman movie. I just hated it. It was good for what it did as far as pulling Batman out of the Adam West pow zip bang and establishing that he could be a dark superhero. I just thought it was like obvious. I don't know. I don't particularly like. I think Tim Burton works best when somebody else gives him a script and he does like a Real Big Fish is amazing. That's my favorite Tim Burton movie. Focus. All right, so now pirate stuff is going on. They're fighting, and now the big problem. Oh no, they got the treasure of Blackbeard, but Ben doesn't want to go back. He likes it here. They accept him as the ugly, horrible Blackbeard. It's exciting to him. He wants to stay as the swashbuckling hero. Here we have the other pinups. Acme Mine Detector. Yeah, this is the Yancey Street Gang. The Yancey Street Gang was Ben Grimm's street gang. He grew up on Yancey Street, which in reality is Delancey Street. It was a rough area, part of Manhattan in the lower east side. It was a rough area back then in the 40s when Jack Kirby, or 30s even, the Bowery Boys, those old black and white TV shows. This was the area. Jack Kirby was in a gang. He was in an ethnic gang. He was in a Jewish gang. And what did they do? They fought other ethnic groups. That's just what you did, in the streets back at that point. So Jack Kirby was a tough guy. Ben Grimm is based on his grandfather, who probably was in the Delancey Street gang. Benjamin Grimm is based on Benjamin Kirby, Jack's grandfather. And then Jack, this is one of the characters that is most Jack Kirby put into comic book form. So when he left the Yancey Street game, they never forgave him, and they're always busting his chops. Now they've established that it's like kind of like a friendly thing. Like they do like sweet pranks on him. You know, like he'll open it up and it'll, like, you know, like the pranks like a flaming bag of poop or an exploding cigar. Nothing like anthrax or anything like that. You know, nothing horrible. So is this a bomb? So he has a mine detector to see if this is going to explode in his face. It's kind of a fun joke. And this is Alicia. Now, this is one of those things that we forget about the Fantastic Four. But Alicia, first off, she's Philip Masters' niece. Oh, please leave please leave a thumbs up. It really does. Oh, you're talking to the audience. Thank you. I thought you were talking to me. I thought I did something wrong. Thank you. Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you, Phantasmagoria. She's awesome. Thank you so much. Alicia Masters, Philip Masters' niece. Philip Masters being the puppet master, one of the creepiest, if not the creepiest villain of all time. Actually, the Purple Man's creepier as far as what he actually does. But she is supposed to look exactly like Sue Storm, except for the hair color, to the point where in her first appearance, she disguised herself by dyeing her hair to look like Sue Storm. And Ben had a crush on Sue Storm. Sue Storm, you know, and it was like a love triangle for before the Fantastic Four. When you read all the back build up, it was a love triangle. Ben, Reed, and Sue, and she picked Sue, and then he found a blind girl. I skipped a page. So now the Twister comes and knocks their boat down. Ben has no choice but to go back with them because the ship is wrecked. Never mind all the people. Don't save the people. Who cares about the pirates? Let them die, you know. And then they go back with Blackbeard's treasure. I love this time travel. It's just a gate that just comes down and envelops them and brings them back. It's just so cool visual. Here's the treasure. You know, he's like, okay, we got you your treasure now. So the Fantastic Four are done playing along with him. That's what they were doing. They were playing along with him. They were humoring him. You know, an electric net isn't going to stop the Fantastic Four. So, but again, Ben and Reed recognized Victor. He knew Victor was mentally unhinged. You know, this is one of his people that he knew from college. He wanted to see what he was up to. So they're done playing along with him. You got a time travel machine. You're doing all this stuff. Enough's enough. They rush him. He shoots. I love that. He just shoots Ben, and Ben smashes him. It's a robot. The real Victor Von Doom is safely someplace else, monitoring everything. Here's Sue. You know, she tampers with stuff and just blows him up. Blows him up and gets out of here. They're like, whoa, that bomb. You know, she's still tied up behind. She frees them. You know, I like that because Sue is always just a hostage. You know, I've liked all the Fantastic Four. Johnny Storm is my least favorite. I don't know why. I just don't like the name the Human Torch. Still don't like the name. Mr. Fantastic, you know, I love this. Mr. Fantastic has super strength. I don't care. You know, maybe it's the cells, the elasticity, but like I don't think he could lift a ton, but his body could withstand the damage from a ton because he's stretchy, you know. So look at this. He ties himself and he pulls that door. That's not human strength. That's superhuman strength. And there's so many times when he does this stuff. So he pulls out. They're got to finish your vid. Oh, thank you. Okay, see you, Fantastic. Thanks for showing up. What does he do? He fuses the glass and they escape. You know, not the best story. Not the best story in the world. But right away, the very next, so issue 6, Dr. Doom comes back again. Stan and Jack knew they had a breakout character. So right, the next issue, he teams up with the Submariner and they fight. You know, how cool is that? Can you imagine being a kid in 1962, 63, and you get a Fantastic Four, and it's Submariner and Dr. Doom teaming up? You know, oh, that must have been awesome. That must have been awesome. So the final victory of Dr. Doom, all new. So this is a new story. Jack Kirby, Chick Stone, same team. And what are they doing? There's traffic jam, this typical Manhattan. The guy's like, yeah, you know, people look gawking at you. You dented my car. So Ben, what's he do? He he smashes his car, and Reed's like, I gotta pay for this now. And this is Dr. Doom traveling through space. They left Dr. Doom in space at the end of Fantastic Four 25. He made this machine that was like phasing people out of time and space, and Dr. Doom, of course, got caught up in it. That's how he got defeated. He's now rescued by Rama-Tut. So this is Dr. Doom and Rama-Tut meeting for the first time. You know, these just two titans are, and both of their egos, because they may or may not be the same person, they're descendants, and blah 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 blah. We're back into that nonsense, and they can't deal with each other being around. So he rescues Doctor Doom because he can't let Doctor Doom die, because if Doctor Doom dies, does Ramatut die? That's one of those paradoxes. So now he's back in Manhattan, strolling around the streets, and he's challenging the Fantastic Four. I like this. He's making an epoxy, and he's testing it on Ben to see if it's good enough for space shuttles. And, so now they're going to the Latvian embassy. So this is when they knew that Doom was from Latvia, but at this point, Doom is now the leader of Latvia, but they don't know this yet. There was a puppet leader that ruled Latvia, and Doom was the man behind the curtain. He was the power behind the throne. So they go into the Latvian embassy, and what do they do? They're drinking, and the diplomat is like showing them the wonders of the accordion. Ben's dancing with the heavyset lady, and Johnny Storm is hitting on chicks. Doom is just laughing. Doom is just laughing at them. Why? Because he's humiliating them. That's his purpose. He wants to humiliate the Fantastic Four now. He doesn't want to kill. Believe me, if Doctor Doom just wanted to kill the Fantastic Four, he could kill the Fantastic Four. He needs to humiliate them. So Reed is just like, you caused problems with me and my girl. And Sue's like, how could I ever, think that you would cheat on me? You're not that kind of guy. And they're fighting the Fantastic Four. They all realize that they've been duped, so they're going to team up, and they're going to fight. They're going to fight Doctor Doom. What's he doing? He's using his fire to charge up everything to cancel out his force fields. They're fighting, and here's where they Reed calls. He goes, knock it off. You want to humiliate me? You don't care about Ben. You don't care about Johnny. So me and you, we'll duke it out. Let's have a drink and like gentlemen, and we'll duke it out. So he pulls out this machine. And what is this machine? It's like a battle of wills. Why does Reed Richards have this machine? I don't know. But so they just aim at each other, and whoever has the strongest will survives. Whoever has the weaker will just gets destroyed. So Doctor Doom is just like, I won. I killed Reed. I killed him. I won, and he's just like, that's it. The rest of you guys, I don't care about you guys. And then they leave, and Reed is like, what happened? He's like, yeah, I gave him hallucination potion. So that machine doesn't really exist. I gave him and he got his greatest desire, and now he's storming off. It's a temporary fix. I love these Amazing Spider-Man and Marvel, and here's the soldiers. Again, this comic, if not for this tape over here, this comic is in really good condition. Again, I think that I would have not bought this if I saw this individual. So I must have got this in a collection, and I don't remember. So there you go. I've been talking for an hour now. There's a couple of glitches, couple of problems. It looks like I lost people because of that. Thank you for people who showed up. I don't know what else to say. Anybody have any questions? I'll filibuster for a second or two to see what everybody has to say. I feel like I say this at the end of every Sunday Comics. That was not my best video, but that's the trials and tribulations of going live. This week on Tuesday, I might as well talk about some channel news. This Wednesday, I'm talking to Brian Urso of the progressive rock band Gideon's Mob. He's a big comic book fan, so I reached out to him. Other channel news. These are upcoming live chats that I have scheduled. First off, Luke Stone, who owns Fund My Comic. We're going to be talking, I think, in 2 weeks. Ethan Van Sciver has agreed to come on my channel. Can you believe that, Ethan? Amazing talents. I consider myself so lucky and blessed to have such awesome guests coming up on my channel, and we'll see how things go. Like, subscribe. I'm getting a little frustrated that my subscribers. I'm trying to get to 1,000 so I can actually get monetized. I'm pre-monetized. Everything's filled out. Everything's ready to go. I just have to hit 1,000 subscribers. So I don't know. I hate begging for that kind of stuff. It just seems so mercenary. But what do you want me to do? All right, thanks a lot. It seems like the technical difficulties chased everybody away, and believe me, I totally understand. So I'll see you tomorrow with, tomorrow right after this. I'm recording a couple of videos. Tomorrow is going to be oh, thank you, Abrax. Thank you. Tomorrow is going to be Horace H. Hoover. I asked Fabrizio Aiello if I could showcase the comic, and he said by all means. And then Tuesday is going to be Wolf and Batsy. So, a couple of alternative comics, but you know what? I love them. So there you go. All right, I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Bye-bye, everybody.